Ruth Mbonyesaro, the prophet, God sent her to the people of Rwanda. So the testimony of how I started seeing visions is this: how it all started. How it happened. I go from one part to another. So I started out as a member of the Adventist religion. I was born in Adventist religion. My mother was a deacon. After that I got married to a man who was also born into the Catholic religion. My husband dropped out of the Catholic seminary during senior one. He dropped out of school and immediately enrolled for military service. As newlyweds, going to church services regularly was not our priority. We even spent time in bars drinking alcohol without any concern. We used to go to bars without thinking about the consequences. Then I came back to my senses and decided that living in such a worldly way was not right for me. I returned to my Adventist church and started attending services regularly, and my husband also came to his senses and began attending services faithfully in the Catholic faith. Then misunderstandings began between us. My husband was given bad advice that we shouldn't pray in different religions. From that moment on, the rivalry between us began, while the conflict continued. Conflicting over Sabbath and Sunday as different days of worship. Later we realized that we were not making peace with each other. My husband asked me, is it really worth dying for faith? Conflicting over Sunday and Sabbath? Over Catholicism and Adventism? We married without paying attention to religious matters. I don't understand why they would separate us. He continued, let me tell you what we're going to do. Let's fast for 3 days. Let us pray to God and consult Him. The true religion that tells us is the one we will follow. If God chooses us as Catholics, we go there. If God chooses us as Adventists, we go there. But if God doesn't choose for us, we'll ignore religious matters. If God doesn't care about it, it's useless and we're going to get rid of it. So I asked him, how are you going to pray? I asked him if the rosary would help him in any way. He told me to go to my room and pray, and that he would go to another room to pray. He believed that God understood all languages and that no language was too difficult for him. So we fasted and prayed to know whether the religion that pleases God is Catholicism or Adventism. So that the religion that God approves will be the one we follow. As we began our prayers, my husband had his first dreams. He dreamt that he was heading to his hometown in Rwanda. He said he saw cows and horses pulling each other. The cow was moving slowly while the horse was moving very fast, that the horse and the cow were walking through the bean field, that he tried to persuade them to leave the field, but they turned on him and chased him away. They told him to leave, saying that since his wife is strong and couldn't oppose them, he shouldn't oppose them. After he told me about it, I realized it had nothing to do with the religious matters we were discussing. He prays again. Then he dreamed that there was a pit in front of him. There were so many people in that pit. And he was surprised that these people didn't want to leave that pit. But instead, the people showed him that even his suitcases and beds were in that pit. They told him to come to the pit because it was his home. So he got into that pit, realizing it as a pit, just for it was a home to his friends and wealth. He complained that the situation was not what we asked God for. After that, for the third time, he dreamed that he was going to Catholic Church to pray. That he met a man who told him to let the children go to the Adventist church to celebrate the Sabbath, so that that woman next door named Mukakaimi won't bewitch them. And my husband started complaining to God that we had asked to differ the Sabbath from Sunday, but he didn't tell us anything about it. And I said to him, "So isn't there something he revealed to you?" And he said, "What is that?" So after that, I prayed too, and on the first day, I asked him to reveal to me which religion he prefers between Catholicism and Adventism. And I affirmed that the religion God was to choose would be the one I began to follow. But if God did not care and did not reveal the true religion, he would be condemned for our blood. For no one couldn't believe in something that does not exist. If you are a deaf God who does not speak to his people, how can we follow you, and how can we testify about you? So we need you to talk to us and reveal. So I asked God to explain to us whether he accepts all religions in their entirety. And I saw an angel come and touch me with his mantle. I immediately threw myself into the air and ran like the wind, ha ha ha. I got to the point where I wondered if I would ever be able to return to land. I finally told God that what religions teach is like that wind. All religions do not teach the same doctrines, so explain to me. I then landed on ground. But that first time I didn't receive any clear vision, so on the second day it continued. An angel invited me to come and receive a revelation concerning those religions. That was the true religion among others, since we had failed to receive any revelation before. He first took me to our Adventist church. When I got there, I saw that I was wearing a long coat like the ones that thieves wear at night. Wearing that long coat, I arrived at the Adventist church. The church was a very beautiful one, built of iron and furnished with very beautiful chairs. But all who came to worship there were sick with tumors. If someone sat on the chairs, the tumors would break and stain the chairs. A guest would come in to sit down and find the chairs dirty of pus. So the angel told me, "Did you see what happened to your friends? So you too sit down." I refused to sit down because it was dirty. I told me I would rather squat or stand. The angel told me to sit down, as it was normal for me, and had no reason not to sit down. And sit comfortably with your hips pressed against dirty chairs. I sat, pressing my hips against the dirty chairs as I observed them. And those who came to pray noticed how I had abused the chairs. They all got out. And the angel said to me, "Come, I will take you to the other Catholic church." When I got there, I found that the worshippers were defecating all over the place. Defecating everywhere without feeling any shame, just like babies do. The angel said to me, "That's what you see." Then I asked for an explanation of what I saw. Meanwhile, I also saw the Protestants coming to pray. Suffering diarrhea, vomiting, and abdominal pain. Then the angel said, "All that you have seen is a message. You are the one who asked for revelation, and whoever takes the plow must be ready to till the ground." Then the angel told me, "The message I have given you must be spoken everywhere you go." So I replied that I was asking because I wanted to know the truth, but I was not good at preaching the prophecy. Then you will choose someone else to preach the prophecy. God told me that I was the one chosen, and that this was what I wanted, and therefore I must pass it on to others. On the third night, my husband and I had only vague dreams. On the third night I saw a devastating war. A war broke out, ravaging the country, people died, and there was unprecedented sorrow. Since my husband had been in the reserve army under President Habyarimana's regime, he was subsequently remobilized. When he returned home in the evening, they came to take him away. According to the dream, when he was taken away he would never come back. Just as I dreamed of him being taken away and never coming back, so did he dream it too. He also had a dream about a devastating war in which he was taken away to serve as a reserve soldier. He also dreamed that they were taking him away, but he did not know his fate. We both had the same dream that third night. So after that, in the days that followed, we no longer fought over religion. For everyone saw that there was war. Our dreams were united by his departure and his never return because of that war. From that moment on, God asked me to start going around warning people about the impending war. Yet before I began my prophecy ministry, I started out by preaching the Word of God in my neighborhood. I went around warning my neighborhood that a war was approaching, and that even massacres would soon take place. I warned the Hudists that a time would come when they would be tempted to kill the Tutsis. I also warned the Tutsis that they were about to be killed simply because of their tribe. I continued to warn people, reaching even distant areas like Drisny and Ruhinjeri. Even in Kabungo, and sometimes I would spend an entire month away before returning home, ministering from one street to another, from one place to another, day and night. And it was like that. I went and preached everywhere, even in remote areas like Kibu, preaching such messages as God sent me to. On my way busy preaching, one day it was at Assumption. The angel asked me to preach on that day carrying a flag. The flag was supposed to resemble that of Israel, with a cross and the laws of God written on it. I was ordered to go around the capital city, warning that a devastating war was about to break out. So that all the people in the capital repent, and I would say it on the national radio. A journalist called Muhuri interviewed me about it. God warned me that there were also epidemics of disease that were about to strike. He revealed to me a disease called adidas, which were tumors that appeared in the fallopian tubes of men. God revealed to me how close the war was, and how people would be ordered to kill others so that people may repent. As I continued to go preaching, with the flag, with the distinctive blue and white robe with the vermilion on my head like a bride, everything I did carried a symbolic meaning. Some people mistook me for a madwoman, while others thought I was a nun. That's how it happened. I even reached my Adventist church to spread the news. It got to the point where my husband realized that it was too much for him. It turned out that he had to throw me out and we broke up. But this story of separating from my husband is a very long story. I will tell it in another testimony. From then on I began my life as a single mother. I took my children and went to ask for accommodation from a man who taught at a Paco. The teacher, a Congolese by nationality, was married to a Rwandan woman originally from Sangugu. When I had spent 2 weeks staying at her place, the woman asked that we pray to God and prophecy to find out whether it was God who had caused my downfall, or if I had brought it upon myself. As we were praying, I suddenly saw a group of people coming to visit me at the woman's home. What amazed me was that people from different religions came together in such unity that one would think they had first made an agreement. Then came Adventists, temperance believers, Catholics, and Pentecostals, all moved by one spirit and purpose, to pray for me and to warn me that I was going the wrong way, for God has never been the reason for a couple to separate. They all tried to convince me, and I, in my own way, decided to test them to see if they were truly sure of what they were telling me. I asked the Adventists, if my husband wants me to cook and fetch water on the Sabbath, should I obey him and do it? They told me to go and do it, advising me not to provoke or tempt him. I then asked them if joining a sinner in sin could really mean not tempting them. They said yes, and I stepped aside, turning my attention to the Pentecostals with my testing questions. What if he pressured me to sell alcoholic drinks? Should I do it? They advised me to just do it, so as not to tempt him. The Catholics did not stand against me. They have their own ways and choose not to engage in such disputes. After all the disagreements, the woman of the house summoned me to a private room for a one-on-one conversation. He questioned me, asking if it could be true that she and just 2 others, among many, would be the only ones to recognize that I was sent on God's mission. The surprising thing is that even your fellow Adventists are opposing you. At that time, many prayer rooms had sprung up, where numerous teachings were shared, teachings that could not have been delivered in the churches. The woman said to me, "See how even the people in the Adventist and Pentecostal prayer rooms are all standing against you." I asked her, "Do you suppose that all those people don't know that Jesus said he came to bring a fire that would divide families?" "Sure, they know that verse. But do you really think it's just you and me who can make them understand?" She replied to me. I then asked her to return to her room while I went to mine to pray and seek God's guidance on the right thing to do. If God confirms to me that He is the one who sent those people, I'll return home right away. Whatever God instructs you to do, I will go along with it. We each went to our rooms for prayer. As I was praying alone in my room, the ground suddenly began to shake. There was an earthquake. In that moment, I saw the walls of the house start to split open. Suddenly, the heavens opened before my eyes. Following that, I saw myself lying with my husband, when a great stone fell from the heavens that had opened, striking the space between us. The stone struck the bed we were lying on, toppling it. My husband fell to one side, and I was hurled to the other. Instantly, I heard a voice declare, "A rock may strike and destroy your home, but this one is sent from here alone." The voice went on, "Do not abandon my ministry to go home thinking you will look after your children. I will demonstrate that I alone am their true caretaker." And the voice continued, "Do you remember that we gave you a mission to go to Zaire to minister in various churches and chapels? And indeed, you declined to go, claiming that your husband opposed it. So now that you are no longer with your husband, why are you not going to minister in Zaire?" Then I questioned, "How will I reach that place? How can I fulfill the ministry you have called me to there?" The voice encouraged me to get ready to travel to Goma City the following Sunday. I asked where I would be staying, and was told to speak with the woman of the house, who would direct me to her younger sister working in Goma City so that she could provide accommodation. After a while, the woman emerged from her room of prayer and asked me, "Have you received any revelation from the Lord?" I explained to her that God had told me she would link me with her younger sister in Goma City, where I was to go and minister the following Sunday, and that her sister would provide me with accommodation. She looked at me in surprise and said, "Oh, this is something serious indeed." I turned to the visitors who had come to see me, and we spoke calmly. I held no grudge against anyone, for who can run after the wind and know its origin or its destination? They had no understanding of what was happening, so I saw no reason to spend time trying to explain it to them. Yet they told me that they would enter into fasting and prayer, seeking God's mercy, so that I might return home in peace. So we bid farewell to the visitors, and just as we were saying goodbye, my husband arrived. He found the woman sitting in the living room while I was outside in the yard, and he told her that he had come to see me. As soon as he said he was looking for me, the woman called me and told me to come speak with my husband. When I got there, my husband greeted me and said, "I know very well that everything you're doing is because you are bewitched and possessed by spirits, but I still love you." He added, "I came to bring you to the traditional healer in Jikangoro so that he might resolve the troubles that are afflicting you." I said to him, "What you're saying is wrong. I serve God, and all my actions are for Him alone. No one can interfere with that. I cannot agree with what you're saying." As soon as I said those words, he got angry and slapped me twice. Then he grabbed the children I was with, lifted them, and carried them away. The woman asked, "What did you talk about with him?" I told her that he had slapped me twice. She told me, "But he lied to me, saying he came to you with forgiveness. Yet now you've rejected his forgiveness and he's leaving." At daybreak the next morning, I began my journey to Goma, just as the Lord had instructed. I traveled and arrived in Goma at night. Then I began searching for the younger sister of that woman, and when I found her, I spent the night at her place. Since I had an uncle who also lived in Goma, that young woman helped me go and look for where my uncle's family lived. I had information that he lived near the volcanoes, so we went to ask about him at the Adventist church, and they showed us where he lived. As soon as I arrived at my uncle's place, I could see that my presence disturbed him deeply. He went into his room and wept. He asked me, since my sister had given birth to 2 daughters and Margarita passed away, was there another daughter she had? I replied to him, "The other daughter is me." He asked me, "But I have information that you have already gone astray." I answered, "I know what it means to have gone astray, and I confess it. It is exactly this wandering that I have come here to reveal and clarify." I continued, "I do not argue about that at all. However people see you, no one can stop them from seeing you as they wish." I told him, "Goodbye then. I will return with this young woman." He said to me, "So tell me, why would you return to that young woman, when I was lucky enough to see you?" He said, "I was told that you had gone astray." I answered, "Back in Rwanda, I was called crazy for my work, and that is precisely what I have come to do here in Goma, Zaire." I told him, "And from the day I began my ministry preaching in the churches, do not stop me, because God has entrusted this to me. Let me carry out my work freely." He said, "It's no problem. Once you start your ministry, I will assign a Swahili interpreter to go with you. Should any challenges arise in your work, they will report back to me, so I can see how to handle them." I told him, "That sounds good. Please draw for me the flag that I will use in my ministry." So I went to bed and continued my life as usual. On the night from Saturday into Sunday, an angel appeared to me and told me that I should get up, wash, and put on my special clothes, because he himself would come to accompany me to go and preach in the churches. Normally in my ministry I did not speak myself. The angel went with me everywhere I went, and it was he who spoke the words that flowed from my mouth. I never speak on my own because I have no thoughts of my own. Instead, I speak only what the angel breathes into me. I speak the words precisely as the angel inspires me, and once I finish, I am struck with awe and fear at what has come out of my mouth. While I'm in the presence of the angel, I feel completely fearless. Even if a sword were thrust at me, I would not perceive it, nor would it harm me. But when the angel leaves, fear overwhelms me, and I go into a room to lock myself in. The next morning, I was given a companion and interpreter named Niratamba, who was also a relative. She was instructed to show me the locations of the churches and chapels. The interpreter was given instructions to ensure that passers-by did not realize we were together. She was to guide me and explain things to me, but she would remain out of sight so the audience would not discover we were together once I began my ministry. Niratamba came, and we set out, starting with the Rwanda Catholic Cathedral. I lifted the flag, and God declared to them, Catholic Church, you are about to face calamity because you have not obeyed God's laws. I then delivered many other messages, and continued on to the Pentecostal and Protestant churches, proclaiming God's message. In the evening when I returned, my uncle told me, people saw you at the cathedral and were amazed, thinking that you must be a nun who came from Kaipo. Since my uncle was Catholic and present at the cathedral, he continued to tell me that the Christians were very surprised, though he refrained from saying whether he knew me personally. He went on, truly, I never mentioned to anyone that I knew you. Still, the Christians inquired of the bishop whether your message was genuine. The Christians asked the bishop about the Sabbath and the Sunday that you had prophesied about. He told them that what you said was true. The Sabbath is the genuine day of rest, while the Sunday was created by Rome. Then the Christians told him, we want to start following the teachings of Sister, and he agreed, saying that whoever wished could come on the Sabbath to be taught by her. The teachings continued for 3 weeks. After that, the bishop opposed them, saying that those who wished to follow my teachings should go to the Adventists, because continuing to deliver such messages around the cathedral could cause problems within the Catholic Church. After the bishop told those who wished to follow my teachings to join the Adventists, some of them did so, and among them was my uncle, who later got baptized in the Adventist Church. Wherever I went in my ministry, by the time I returned home, I was nothing but dust and ashes. One day, as I passed by the Seventh-day Adventist ministers, I was covered in dust, carrying a small bag that held my clothes. When I arrived, I found them in the midst of a fast, and they gathered around to pray for me. Because they were deeply moved by the difficult life I had been through, they told me that on that very day they had fasted and prayed for me, asking God to help me return to my home country. They asked me, what do you say about that? I replied, it's not possible for me to return home. I told them that my husband had driven me away, and since I could not return to do what he wanted me to do, going back would only mean confronting him again. They told me, we can see that you even walk around carrying a small bag with clothes inside. So if you have refused to go back home, don't bother anyone asking for help of any kind. They continued, so no one will help you, since you have left your home, your husband, and your children to go and preach. They said, the country is full of preachers. There is no need for you to leave your home to come and preach here. They said, from now on, no one will offer you shelter again. Being told all these things, particularly as I had been traveling through the city of Goma on my ministry, overwhelmed me with sorrow, and I could not help but weep. Laughter. Seeing my sorrow and tears, one of them reassured me, saying, I am not part of these matters we are praying about, yet I offer you my comfort. The person who had just comforted me went on, honestly, I am not lying. It could even be hard for me to give you a place to stay once needed be, because everyone knows that you left your home and abandoned it." I agreed, and she went on to assure me that whenever I or my children fell ill and doctors sent us to the pharmacy for medicines, she would obtain and pay for them on my behalf. I thanked her for that. I instructed her to go and inform her companions that I have my own home to stay in, so I would not need to depend on anyone else for lodging. That's how I began living in my own house, apart from my husband. He stayed with the younger children, while I remained with the 3 older ones. That's how I continued my ministry in complete freedom, with neither husband nor child standing in my way. I continued my ministry tirelessly, serving day and night without pause. I continued to preach the message. But after the FPR and Cotonee War began in October 1990, some people started to suspect me of being involved in secret plans of the enemy. I remember one case in Kabeya, Jaisni Prefecture, where I had gone to preach the message shortly after the war broke out in October 1990. There was a man named Paul Basinga who had invited me, but the Adventists from that church refused to allow the gathering to take place. Among the Adventists, there was one group that accepted my teachings, while another group strongly opposed them. One group claimed that I had no true visions, that everything I experienced was mere imagination or deception, while the other group believed that what I said was true, and they would invite me to their places to preach the message. There were even places where, after I went to preach, the people who had invited me were immediately expelled from their church, but that did not discourage them. So, while I was in Kabeya at Paul Basinga's place, I preached to them and told them that the war was still ongoing. I warned them that the war, which was still between the soldiers, would reach the civilians and that there would be extreme killings among the population. I warned them that in the days to come, people would kill each other, husbands would kill their wives at will, and individuals would even kill their own children. I told them everything, how that war among the civilians would unfold and the atrocities that would be committed. One day, I prophesied how the war would affect the civilians during a gathering we held outside the church. During those gatherings held outside the church, I spoke about all those events, and among the attendees were even officers from the judiciary police who had come together there. I do not know who had invited them. After the gatherings, we went to stay at Paul Basinga's house. While sitting at Paul Basinga's, resting and speaking God's word, some Pentecostals had come to hear the message. They told me that their leaders had sent them so I would go to their place to preach, even though I already had an appointment to go and minister in Jeshwati. So, as I sat there preparing to leave for Jeshwati to preach the next morning, someone came to me with a piece of paper containing a message. I read the message, which said, "Go to the backyard to be fed, and then cross with those going to sleep in Gasiza, for they are about to come and arrest you." The judiciary police officers have already written your arrest warrant. They are now waiting for the area intelligence officer to sign and stamp it before those judiciary officers bring it to come and arrest you. The kind of suspicion they have against you during wartime allows them to throw you into the central prison for 6 months. Before prosecution, I moved into the backyard and was served rice and peas. But as soon as I began to eat, a great fear came over me. My teeth started chattering uncontrollably. I knelt down and prayed, saying, "My God, everything I have done in the towns and everywhere you have led me, All those other things never frightened me, but this situation does, because I am new to this area and I don't know its ways or the character of the people who live here. I don't even know if anyone here would come to visit me in prison at that very moment. The voice of an angel spoke to me, telling me to quickly inform those I was to travel with to Kabea that we must leave immediately, through the back gate, because the officers coming to arrest me had already arrived at the main gate. I told those I was eating with to leave immediately, for the officers who had come to arrest me were already near the main gate. As we slipped out through the backyard, the judiciary police and the area intelligence officers were just entering through the main gate. They reached the house while we had already gone out the other way. They came in disguise, asking those in the house, "We're looking for that preacher. We want her to share the message with us now, for this is the best time for us to listen." But the people in the house replied, "He already went back home." They questioned, "How could she have left? Only a short while ago she was here." They replied, "It's true, she was here a little while ago, but she left with those going to Jishwati. She is not staying here." Those in the house saw that the officers were suspicious, so they told them to come inside and search for me. The officers entered the house, looking for me, trying even to see the backyard where I had slipped out. The ones who had written the arrest warrant had done it from a small bar owned by a man named Moses. Moses had 2 wives, yet my message always condemned polygamy. They thought he would never reveal their secret or help me escape, but in truth, he was the very one who wrote the little note that warned me to flee. While escaping, we crossed the Jisiai River. The bridge was made of a few poles, and normally I fear crossing a bridge made of just a few separate poles. I got scared, especially since it was already getting dark. An idea came to me, to go back no matter what the officers might do to me. When I suggested the idea to the men of God, they rejected it and advised me, "God can help you cross on these poles, but if you go back, those coming to arrest you will surely catch you. Pray, then step onto the poles. If you should fall into the river, accept it as the Lord's will." So they guided me as I slowly crossed the poles, and I felt it was an incredible miracle, for it had greatly worried me. So I spent the night in Gasaiza, and the next morning I went to wait for a car at the gates of Habiaimana's house. That was where taxis used to park. So I decided to go to Goma because I had left 2 of my children there. I had a son, and I saw in a vision that he would be killed in the war. I had indeed taken him to Goma so that he could stay there. I tried to leave him with my uncle, but the uncle told me it was impossible because he was traveling to Kinshasa. I also tried to leave him with my aunt, but she refused as well. I brought the child back, but I thought to myself, since both of them refused to take care of him, it must be that he is destined to die, and there is nothing else I can do. That same day, while on my way back home, I reached the Antaruka Highlands where the people invited me to minister to them. However, God had not yet revealed anything to me about that invitation. So, as I prepared to go to Antaruka, I let my son continuing to Kigali and kept my daughter, Nira Safari, who had AIDS but was very intelligent. She loved praying and had already begun receiving visions. Then my daughter said to me, "Mummy, let's go home." I replied, "No, tonight I am going to minister over there in the Antaruka Highlands." She continued pleading with me to go home, but I refused. Eventually she said, "Then at least give me the transport fee so I can go back on my own." She said, "Then whatever will happen to you tomorrow, you will tell me about it." She added, "Don't blame God as if I hadn't warned you." When she told me that, I felt frightened. I said to myself, maybe there's a problem there. Let me go home for now, and I will return to continue with this mission later. I told those who had invited me that I was going back home, but would return later. They were disappointed, but there was nothing else I could do. The next morning, I woke up to continue my journey. When I reached the town, I saw a commotion. People were being caught, and others were being arrested. The security forces were searching for people and causing chaos. I asked a passerby what happened. He replied, "The Nkatani have attacked through volcanoes." So, they were searching to make sure none of them were hiding in the city. I praised God for His goodness, then I reflected with fear. What would have become of me if the war had broken out again while I was in prison? It would have brought me great suffering. Meanwhile, there were Catholic women who were my friends. One of them now lives in Canada. I would always warn them about the hardships of the war we were going through, even when it was approaching. The war continued, and I traveled across the entire country to warn and prophesy. I went to every corner of the nation. However, the only place I didn't travel much was Songgu, because when I reached Gada there, that was the limit. I went to warn everyone, everywhere. I remember that with only 2 months left before the genocide, I went from Tutsi home to Tutsi home, telling them, "Please, you must flee, it is time." I remember arriving at one household and presenting them with a choice. I asked them, "If you flee for 2 years, you will live a very hard life but eventually return to freedom and prosperity. Or if you stay in the country, you will enjoy wealth and comfort for 2 years but be killed cruelly. Which of these two would you choose?" So, they chose to flee and endure 2 years of hardship in order to eventually return to prosperity and freedom. I told them, "Then go ahead and do what you have chosen." God had revealed to me that the sign of a great and terrible war would be the death of the following animals: the leopard, the lion, the hare, and the hyena. But God did not reveal to me what the leopard, the lion, the hare, and the hyena symbolized. However, as I continued preaching and prophesying, people began to doubt me and persecute me. Even pastors from my own Adventist church beat me. They called me insane, but that never discouraged me or stopped me from continuing my ministry. Ruth MBONYISARO, the daughter of Yesaya, by Somambwa and Asanathi Bazihangar, was born on der 1959 in Kigomaniums Lives in Solingen, Germany. WhatsApp phone +489 1 2G1 4 me 4 5 8 5 IFT.